Hi, everybody. Welcome into today's show here on JTV. It is Wednesday. I'm David. That's Adam. We are back after braving the elements doing baseball yesterday. It was definitely, I called it March, April baseball based on the weather.
Yeah, it was so cold. I don't know if you can see my face. It's still red from the wind burn that I got.
And it's not like it was 20 degrees out. It was 45.
It was just with the wind. It was what made it brutal, especially being in that open field.
Right. And yesterday, Tuesday, spring sports began in our area too.
That's right.
So baseball, softball, we had a girls' soccer game, tennis. That must have been cold for tennis.
Oof.
Been trying to hit the ball around. I'm obviously not a tennis player, but with the wind and how cold it is, I wonder if that,
That must have
affects
something to do with it. Yeah, I bet.
And lacrosse started yesterday as well. Jackson United, 10-2 over Allen Park. They went to Allen Park.
Wow, all the
got
way
the
out
win.
to Allen Park.
So, Jackson United 1-0 to begin the lacrosse season. Nothing likely happening today, Wednesday, because of the weather. I don't think you're gonna play baseball in this.
It's pretty nasty outside. It's pretty cold and wet.
Yeah, I just looked at the radar before we came on, and it looks like it's not gonna. None of the rain is gonna stop until 4 a.m. So,
oh man, yeah, it's gonna be like that all day then.
So check with your local school on Facebook, MHSA.com, any other site for cancellations. And you can also check the Center for Family Health scoreboard, which has the on deck and list of today's games online at jtv.tv. We will be updating that with teams who are still doing something today, with who are still playing. So. And then, of course, subscribe to JTV Sports with the spring sports season beginning and all of our photo and video coverage in the next few months to round out the school year with the spring sports. So, and in March Madness this weekend, Final Four this Saturday, Churros on the house in San Antonio.
On the house. His favorite place, Charles Barkley's favorite place.
Auburn and Florida, first game at 6 o'clock. That's going to be a really good.
It's going to be a great game.
Two SEC teams going at it in the Final Four. It was back and forth the whole year, who was the number one team. And then Florida came into the tournament as the betting favorite, even though Auburn was the number one overall seed. So I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah, who do you have winning? I mean, I think you had Auburn in the bracket, right?
Well, I had Auburn against St. John's in the Final Four.
That's right.
I remember I had St. John's going to the championship and losing to Duke. So I still have 3 of the Final Four. I have the other 3.
Nice.
And then the women's Final Four is Friday, UCLA, UConn, and South Carolina and Texas. So 2 good games Friday night there, 2 good games Saturday, and then every year people complain about it, and I do too, but I always forget about it. The national championship is Monday night, but they don't start till like 9:30.
Yeah, it's late. I remember
it's
that
like
being
9:10, I think is what it is. Something like that. So that is Monday night, which means the game won't be done until midnight on a Monday night.
Man.
And it's not like it's West Coast, it's Central time.
Well, I've been dealing with this a lot because we've had the Dodgers and the Mariners for the Tigers. So it's a lot of West Coast games, a lot of games starting at 10. So
I mean, I know yesterday was Tuesday and they played, but besides that, the season kicked off on the weekend, so it didn't make it
it wasn't as bad for the Dodgers, but it was like I've been feeling these Seattle games to start the week. It's been hurting me a little bit.
Yeah. At least doing the scoreboard, working in the evening, that helps.
Yeah. And once the Tigers get back in town, we'll have like 7 o'clock start times. That's a little bit normal. Being able to get done with games around 10 p.m.
105.
Like that. Yeah, and then the 1 o'clock ones, that especially nice.
Opening day for home opening day this weekend for the Tigers, taking on the White Sox, the worst team in MLB history, literally.
Right. They've looked decent so far, but they've been against bad teams though. So it's like I think we've had
who
quite
they play,
the
Brewers.
Oh my gosh, dude, the Brewers look so bad. I think the White Sox face the Twins and then the Angels, and
well, that's
Angels
why.
aren't gonna, yeah. So
I saw on Tigers socials the first 15,000 people that get into the game. I think it's Thursday's game. One of the weekend games here. First 15,000 people that get in. You know how they normally give you like a bobblehead or something. They're doing flannels. They're giving out flannel shirts.
Interesting.
For the first 15,000 people.
Wow. I like that. I mean, if it's cold enough.
Way to downgrade your giveaways. They're running out of money. So I'm looking forward to that. And then the other game I'm looking forward to, of course, after Auburn, Florida, Duke and Houston. Now, they're in the Final Four, Houston, but I've said a few times, which has happened, they get a number 1 or 2 seed, they win the first couple rounds, but they always fold at some point in the tournament.
It hasn't happened yet?
We'll see.
Yeah.
They always, get to whatever game, and then they just fold. Even though they're always in contention talk every year.
Yeah.
So I don't see them beating Duke. To me, I think Duke's been the best team
in the
college
tournament
basketball.
so far. Yeah,
in the tournament so far. But I think throughout the season, you can make a case that Duke's been the best team, above Auburn and Florida to me. So when, some people are saying, well, Auburn, Florida is really, the game that's essentially going to be the mini championship. Well, not really, because the best team is on the other.
Well, and the winner of Duke and Houston will prove that. I mean, if they want to come in and try to shut them down and say, hey, no, we are, whatever team wins, we're the best team, and it's not these two. 14
SEC teams making the tournament, and then could you imagine the SEC not winning the tournament?
It's possible.
So looking forward to that. Saturday night, and then women's Final Four on Friday. So Wednesday, of course, no high school sports today, but we will be back with the Center for Family Health scoreboard online at jtv.tv, so you can see what's happening Thursday and throughout the weekend. We have golf starting in a couple days, too, in the area.
And it doesn't feel like that outside, but we're getting there.
They still start regardless, as long as it's not, downpour rain.
Right.
So it's pretty cold out there. And I think most of the courses, if they're not open already, they will be open in the next week or two. So golf is back, and all the golf leagues starting to get underway soon. So I mentioned on Monday's show, of course, we had Max Fritz here. Me and him did the game yesterday at JC. Thanks to everybody who watched or who listened.
It was a fun game.
It was. Going into the game, we knew both teams were really good on offense and they could score a lot of runs, and they did. But it took a while until about the middle of the third inning. After that, it was like, well, are we gonna get a game?
Right.
Is something gonna happen? And then that grand salami happens.
The grand salami.
So you can check out highlights from the game on our website, plus pictures from the game as well. So we'll be back at JC a couple times at the end of April, and then make it a softball or baseball game.
Yeah.
In high school, softball or baseball in May. So looking forward to that. So all of that and more at jtv.tv. So we had Max on Monday. We went so long that we had show some of it in today's show. So
yeah. I mean, hey, I think it's pretty cool. We'll have him on later, and we got highlights coming up in a second here, so we'll be able to see a little bit of the game, and then go into the rest of the interview with him.
Yeah, 7 runs in the 5th inning by Jackson College to improve to 500 to go 12-11. So, again, you can check out photos on our website, and if you missed the game live on JTV yesterday, here's a few highlights.
Can't go to replay review, right? Just like that one, framed by Jones, struck out. Cole gets out of a big jam here to end the top of the first. Where you get so many disengagements here as the pitch is thrown in. That one's hit moderately out to center. Will it get past the infielders? No, the ranging second baseman, Tanner Olipa, tracks it down. What he can do? Stands, waits, kicks back. That one's hit deep out to left. If it's caught, we're out of the top of the inning. And it is! Ranging all the way over from shortstop is Max Bowers. Max Bowers able to end things here in the top of the second. Cole looking for the strikeout pitches. Zilich fires in. hits a grounder right to shortstop. And a good job to fire it over, and that quickly sets down the Jets here in the second inning, and just with no damage done, again a man on third. That one, though, hammered over to third base. Long throw across the infield. Good job there by Jackson Kopus. And that'll end things here in the top of the third. So far, bullpen holding well, though, and as soon as I say that, fly ball out to right field, easily handled, though, by Welch. And anything hit could score the run. Or a ball in the dirt just like that, past the catcher. First run's going to come in, and the Bruins are on the board. And a voice in the pitcher's ear says, fastball, slider. That one, though, hit way deep out to center. Center fielder ranging under it. He'll make the catch, but it looks like a run is going to score for the Bruins. They throw it to the cutoff man, tried to get it at third, but they lost the handle on it. Again, errors detrimental right now to the Jets. But then he also has 3 walks. Oh, and they called a balk on him. So that's why the runner is coming home. Jackson dugout not liking that at all. Minute Maid Park, where they had a hill out in center field, believe it or not. That one, though, grounded down to first base. Easily corralled, flipped to Blake, and that will finally do it for the top of the fourth. But the damage has been done by Churchill, the new pitcher. Throws it in. That one ripped out to right field. Downs, runner's going to go home. Jets looking to put the first man on the board, and they do. Bowers crosses home plate. Burkhart credited with the first base RBI, and the Jets are on the board 3-1. Again, we see the lead there. Great split screen. That one, though, he got him fanning and fishing. And what happened there at first base? They called him out. He did get caught sleeping. He was standing there adjusting his glove. They threw over, and they get the out. So that unceremoniously will end the fourth inning here as we're going to 2-1. Good hit out there. Solid contact. That's going to score 1, possibly 2. Here comes a runner around third, heading for the plate, and just like that, Jackson College cuts the deficit to 1. Amazing 2-out RBI by Max Bowers. He gets 2 across the plate on that single. Kopus dug in on that right-handed batter's box. Dribbles 1 out to shortstop. Just gets past the runner. He might beat out it. He does. He's safe at the plate, and the tying run comes across the plate. Kopus showing off his speed right there and able to drive home the tying run. You don't want to fish anywhere on the outside. You want to get it somewhere in the middle. Probably a breaking ball here. That one, though, driven out deep to left center. Will it go? That one found the jet stream. The Jackson Jets grand salami. Goodbye off the pinch hitter. Jacob Munson found the jet stream and kissed it goodbye. And just like that, the Jackson Jets break this thing open and lead 8-4. Oh, David, that was amazing.
Well, just like how we drew up the comeback, right? We said coming into this game, both high-powered offenses, both can score. JC had 8 in the last game. Just in the last few innings, scored 6 straight, and then the fly ball out to left there, and
stayed on the right side of the foul pole and found it out. Though now Fisher Holmes gets out of the inning, but he's our. That one hit out to right field. Plays it well, runs in, grabs it, runner is in advances. That's the final out here of the top of the 6th inning. That one out to right field. Will it find the gap? It's over the right fielder's head. That scores 1. The other runners had to hold because they thought it would be caught, but it just had enough carry on it to get it over the right fielder. Look for his pitch. The 2-2 pitch is in. He finds one, but that one skied over to left. Shortstop ranging back. Center fielder coming in. Calls off the left fielder. He gets it. They're going to fire it to the plate, but he'll be safe. So that sacrifice fly out to left field will plate the run, and that's Bauer's 3rd RBI on the day. Fires it, and he's swinging. That one kicked out to right field. It's going to drop in the first baseman's glove, and the Kellogg Bruins get out of it. Not unscathed yet, but it could have 0-0 count. That's the first one. Now that one cranked out to left field. Left fielder going to run back, loses the hat, tries to find it. It's off the fence, stays in the park, but that's going to play to run for the Bruins.
That's what they needed. Still a little bit of ways to go, but
he composes himself, fires it in. That one's ripped off the bat there. Looking out deep again, left, jumping at the wall, cannot pull it down as Montgomery. He's going to have to fire it in, but both runners score on the 2 RBI double by Ham. That's a good way to get out of a cold streak. Rip one over to left field. Just outside. Runner goes, though. They throw it down. He's called out. What a great job right there by Gabe Jones behind the plate to throw one down to third and get the runner. I think they were trying 2 innings ago. Zach Grindy. Grindy hits one again out to right field. That one's deeper, but still no issue out there in right. And just like that, we are through with the 8th inning. Strikeout, ground out, and fly out. That one, though, hit deep to left field. Montgomery finding it. No, that one's gone over the fence. And just like that, the Kellogg Bruins say, see you later to that one. And they start the comeback. They are only down by 2 runs now. This looks like a save situation coming in for the Jets. So right now the window is more important. That one, though, grounder. Could it be turned for a double play? It'd be hard. They decide to go to 3 to get the force out, and they get it. Oh, the third base coach is incensed for Kellogg. He is not happy with the call, as that was a force out, so they did not need to tag the runner. Umpire coming over. Kowski looks, he's going to fire it in. The strike will do it for him. That one, though, hit out to center field. Center fielder ranging over. He makes the catch, and the Jackson Jets win a game. They got to go over 500. They are now 12-11 on the season after the catch by Owen Zimmerman, who was really had a lot of work out there in center field. He brings it in, and the Jackson Jets defeat the Kellogg Community College Bruins at a final score of 10-8.
So after starting the season 0-4, JC came into the game 500, 11-11. Coming in, lost 3 of their last 5, so much needed win for them too. Not only got the win, but it was much needed too.
And it was a fun game for them to win. You can't beat a grand slam.
Yeah, and there was a home run by both teams.
Yeah,
actually.
there was.
So,
yeah,
it was fun. It was entertaining. So.
Sure.
I thought after that home run, and I think the 7th or 8th, I thought Kellogg was going to make a run, and it was going to be a longer game.
9th was looking a little hairy, but they held on.
Yeah, and going into the game, Coach Rick Smith had said, especially in these non-conference games, it's going to be pitching and hitting by committee. So that's why we saw a lot of different pitchers.
A lot of pitchers.
A lot more for Kellogg, though,
Yeah,
than JC.
for
but
sure.
a lot of hitters and a lot of substitutes for both teams. So speaking of Max Fritz, I did the game with him. He will be joining us on the show when we come back here on JTV. Welcome back here on JTV. So, on Monday's show, we talked with Max Fritz, and by the way, it was great always to be out at Jackson College and do the baseball game on Tuesday. But here for a part 2, because I said Monday, we had a lot more to talk about. Part 2 with Max, double JTV work. So. Appreciate you being here with us again.
Problem.
So.
And you can see I wore the exact same shirt because I knew I want to keep continuity right. And this is Wednesday now. It's not like we're doing this again on the same day.
Yeah, we're just continuing. But
yeah.
So hockey. So you've done quite a few sports plus hosting other community shows, which of course we'll touch on. But baseball, football, basketball, and then hockey. So that's 2 of the 4 sports you've done for us now. Where your first time doing it, you haven't done a game with the other person before.
No.
And of course, being with the Matt Kibbe is awesome. It doesn't get better than that. But you hadn't done a hockey game for us before or, with him.
No. And, hockey was one sport that I had known very little about. I definitely hyped up my knowledge a little bit to Brandon to make sure I could get on there. But it was tough because I had to study up on so much hockey. Because again, like we talked about last time, it's not about just going up there and talking about a sport. You have to know
Right.
a lot of the ins and outs. And I had the blessing of being the color guy, and Matt, of course, being play-by-play. Because in color, you can get away with a little bit more of learning on the fly as you go, because it's more of talking about what just happened on the play. But it was such a good learning experience for me, because that was one sport that was probably my weakest. I'm trying to build my like Swiss Army knife of sports knowledge, and in order to call those games and get that mic time experience, and then to be able to do it with someone like Matt who does it professionally, in ESPN, was such a surreal, cool experience to be able to have that and get that knowledge.
Right. Yeah, Kibby's done obviously baseball, football, basketball, hockey, soccer,
Swim too, I think.
I just saw he did swimming nationals last week.
Really?
Yeah, Kibby was doing swimming
Look at
too.
that.
So if we ever expand sports on JTV, literally anything we do,
Yeah.
he's done it before. If we need somebody,
Hey, I did do PA before for swimming as well in high school. That was actually the other sport I forgot
Really?
about. I did
There you
PA for swimming. That talked
They
about
have
last
swimming
week.
there at-
Well, actually, it was in Fremont. It was not in Williamston.
okay.
That's back when I was in high school myself, because I was on the swim team, and then again decided to do announcing. And Williamston does have a good swim program, but no, I haven't done anything there with that. It was just back in Fremont.
So it's cool to hear somebody else say, I started announcing and doing this and that in high school because that's what
Yeah.
that's what I did, and I don't know anybody else that's in this field that's done the same thing at that early of an age. But my first ever game I did with JTV was basketball. It was at J High. I don't remember if it was my first or second game, but there were both games I did at J High, and that was when a young freshman named Amani Bates from Ypsilanti,
man.
Lincoln, came to J High and dropped 30, however many points he had, and shut down the gym. That's the most packed. Still to this day, I have seen a high school gym other than like a semifinal or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
But for a regular season game, that's still the most
Pretty
packed
crazy.
basketball gym I've ever seen. So that was cool. It's like as an 8th grade kid, I still can't believe that sometimes to this day. I've started this here in 8th grade, but as an 8th grader and seeing somebody who's only a year older than me,
Yeah.
Amani Bates, and now he's in the NBA,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, I called this game as a freshman in high school, and I was an 8th grader.
Yeah.
But once I got to high school and being at Grass Lake and doing these football and basketball games, and even because obviously I have friends and I know other people from other schools too, so it's like seeing them or doing the game at the same age as them, and especially if I was doing a Grass Lake game, I knew those football players. I'm friends with some of them. I knew all those guys. So and then calling my friends' games, being the same age as them on TV, that's what made it for me at the beginning, and that's what I thought was really cool. Being in high school, knowing all those people that you're calling the game with. So that's what I took away from it, to start. And what was it like for you then as a high schooler, first getting into it and helping out, and then doing high school, games and knowing those people? It's different.
It is. It's interesting because I think I had a lot of a tougher time because I was new to Fremont, because again, I
Right.
came from Williamson. So and the thing with Fremont is it's a very tight knit, small community, and our graduating class was only, I think, 170. So it was a very small community. And then for me,
Grass Lake was like 90 people.
Yeah.
Like we graduated with
Yeah.
like 90 something.
But so it's that small, tight knit community, and you get an outsider coming in, and especially, Williamston's not a city by any means, but they were like, oh, city kid, and it was tricky because I had a lot of good friends.
Look at that
but,
city kid. What's he doing here?
But trying to, especially in baseball, I found a lot when I would go up there and I would do PA, I would get heckled sometimes from the players in the dugout.
As a high school?
Really? Well, because they know me. They're
Oh, right.
So they would be like, "Oh yeah, you said that wrong," well, and kind of really try to get under my skin. When all I'm doing is just trying to help them by announcing and doing PA there. So that was really tough trying to get into that environment like that. But It almost kind of
Was it just sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt,
you're
was
fine.
it more just like just messing with you, or was it like were they actually being, like D-bags and they were being mean, or was it like just messing with you, just trying to get under your like
more
skin?
of the D-bag?
Because you were a
area, but
newer
yeah.
student
I,
too.
well, I was, and I don't want to say too much, but just kind of the
Yeah.
kids that were doing it were the ones that were more of the kids that would do that to me on purpose. So it was rough getting into it that way. But it kind of helped me grow again because I learned to be a duck, have the water just right off the back. And then that helps, especially in broadcasting. I mean, you have to do that because just like Joe Buck, he's getting so much crap for what he's doing, and he's not horrible. And no matter what you are, if you put yourself out there in a public medium, you're always going to have negative connotations about you, and you just have to learn
Literally
to,
anybody that's a public
exactly.
figure.
You just have to learn to ride with it. And I got that experience when I was younger, and the thing was I could have shied away. I could have been like, what, I'm not doing this, screw this. But I stuck with it, and I'm glad I did because I just I looked for the positive feedback where that came. The athletic director at my high school when I was doing that was a really big supporter. And the thing that I always loved, and I knew that I was doing well, is the umpires would come up to me after the game and be like, man, you're doing like this is the best. Like I've been to a lot of high schools, and this is like the best.
And that's all I would care
Yeah,
about.
exactly.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
I'm
yeah.
not worried about what they're saying.
No,
in the
exactly.
dugouts. And I think, I don't know if you can, relate to this or not too, but being at that school, especially at a smaller school,
Yeah.
at least for our area, like Grass Lake, everybody knows everybody.
Exactly.
Like when Braden Lape was on The Voice, he said it best about, Grass Lake. We're as tight knit as you can, where everybody knows everybody, especially at school. Any drama that happened at school, everybody was going to hear about it. So when I first started doing games, I really just was looked at as just that's JTV David.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I was just people just knew me, and at first it didn't really bother me. It's still kind of bothers me now, even though I'm not in school, to be frank with everybody. But when I first started in school, it was like, oh, he's just the kids who's announcing, for JTV. I just, especially as a student being at that school and knowing everybody, I just wanted to be something more, being known, something more than just the kid that's announcing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I saw that firsthand when I did the Grass Lake game with you, and I mean, you had that those whole student section of boys like chanting your name.
Yeah, you had your own
during the
section.
game and all that. So like I can see how
that's not the biggest probably fan club I've had.
Oh, I've been at
not to keep
Yeah.
it going, but
when you were younger, there was some games that even I was at that I was just like, what? Like you had like the entire. When I say the entire student section, I mean the entire student section was cheering his name, was chanting his name. Oh,
but and I know obviously doing this and calling the games and even writing an article or shooting highlights at a soccer, whatever it is, obviously people are gonna know me from JTV because I do the show. I'm not saying I don't want that. Obviously, it's too late to do that now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, your face is.
But yeah, right there. But I don't have that much facial hair right now, and
Sarah's
I'm not
gotta
blue
update it.
either. But no, I wanted, as a student when I was in school, I wanted to be, and I wasn't a new kid. I mean, I was born here in Jackson. I live in the Napoleon Center, Grass Lake. Like I've been there. I've grown up there my whole life, so it's not like I was a new kid either. But I wanted to be known more by like peers and people at Grass Lake than just he's just the
exactly.
the announcer. He's just the kid who does JTV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's, I don't know if you kind of felt the same way being that high school kid, and then you started doing announcing. And it's like that's the only thing. And anytime anybody who I wasn't friends with or teachers that talked to me, not like during class about like an assignment or something. Besides that, that's the only thing people talked to me about was just JTV this and JTV that, which is fine. I don't really care, but I wanted to be something more than that. I didn't just want to just be where are you announcing next?
Yeah,
that's it. That's all. That's all people want to talk to me about. So I don't know if you kind of felt the same way being at the same age as them.
Not to the extent, because I mean, obviously, JTV, even though at that time, I don't want to say it's infancy because Bart's been doing this for a long time, but at least
Right.
the sports side of it, definitely not as big as now. But you were still on TV. I mean, that was like compared to where I was just doing PA for the local sports. I didn't get too much of that recognition. So I don't think I had that near to the same level as you did, because no one outside of the immediate Fremont base knew me. So
Right.
yeah, I wasn't to that extent.
Right. Well, I mean, I get, obviously it's different versus PA, and there's not really a ton of people who go to high school baseball
So I'm
games
only
or
doing it
softball,
for
or besides the football or basketball games. There isn't a student section for any other sport. Let's face it, they might try to make one, but like besides football and basketball, there's no student sections at a soccer game or a baseball or softball, literally any other sport. So not as many people would have, I think, known you in that situation anyways. But I think me being on TV from the start is what helped that. But that was the problem, the number one problem for me, being the same age as the athletes at the time. And now I'm still only, depending on what grade you're in, I'm still only a few years older than like the juniors and seniors who are still in school now. So I don't really feel like that now, but then it was like, oh, I'm just,
Almost
JTV David.
Yeah.
It's like, well, and then I would go, and then we would hang out at somebody's house, or there'd be one of those high school parties, and I'd be there, and it's like, oh, JTV David's there. It's like, really?
Yeah, you're more
That's
than
all
just
I am?
that.
What do you want me to commentate Pong? Like, what's happening? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then also, I think after COVID, when we started doing live sports, not just for us, I think in general, the broadcast world changed because MHSA, their rules on broadcasting was different. They started going more to the Pixelot, I call it the robot camera, but Pixelot robot camera, however you want to call it, for Huddle or
NFHS,
And that's why, because it's no secret, that's why we can't do postseason games, because they have, but it's just like professional sports. It's part of the media, rights deal. I've said it on the show before. Andy said it on the morning show before, but it's like that all changed too after COVID, and maybe even before that, because it's like media rights. We're talking about media rights deal for high school sports. I just wish it was more of an open market. I don't know if that's the right word, but you know what I mean. But that changed a lot, and it's a lot different, obviously, for you being just one guy doing the game, announcing on the Huddle or NFHS camera versus, and then the next day you do a JTV game here with the full production.
Yeah. Oh, it's insane, the turnaround. I mean, and that's one thing I preach to the kids as well that I do it with, is like, this is starting out, but once you get into this, you'll have a producer in your ear. It'll be a lot more than just doing this, but having that baseline is so important.
Right. And we've, other people have said the same thing, and it's like after COVID, we were allowed to do, live sports on JTV, because before that it was all taped.
Yeah.
And we did playoff games in the past before. You can go back and watch some old JTV footage, but it's like playoff games, but it's all tape delayed, obviously, and it wasn't live either. And now it's like no playoff games. Obviously, we're still there. We're taking pictures and we have video highlights, but it's like FanDuel.
Yeah.
Once they rebranded from Fox Sports
Then Bally.
to then Bally, and now the high school state finals are on FanDuel Sports Network, gambling.
Yeah.
So that's just, I think, the part that a lot of people are upset about, and how that's changing everything too. And it's happening for other sports, because there's not just a Detroit FanDuel Sports Network. It's, I don't want to act like we're the only victims of it, because there's several other states. But that's the part for me that's changed a lot since COVID, is obviously being live, having the live and taped game for football, but then, we can't do the games. Otherwise, you have to pay $9 a month for that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So, anything, football, sideline reporting too, because obviously you've done play-by-play here, and I think you're already the Swiss Army for us because it's play-by-play, color for hockey, which that's the one sport I wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah,
is hockey.
it's tricky.
And you know what's sad is because my dad and my uncle, they played hockey their whole lives. Youth hockey, adult leagues, like the old adult men that are out of shape, Wednesday night hockey, and then as an adult actually playing in serious competitive and travel leagues, and then I step out onto the ice for the first time and I can't even skate and I don't watch hockey. But play-by-play, color, sideline, hosting a community shift for us, you've done all that for us before. Is there one of those positions that stands out to you the most, or one that you enjoy more? Obviously, I know you enjoy doing every broadcast with us, but one that stands out to you or that you enjoy the most, because those are all very different positions, and it's very different even on how you do your game prep too, because normally I do play-by-play, but doing the JC game this week, I'm on color and you're on play-by-play. The only time I've done color was when I was the third man and I was first starting here. It's very even different on how you prep too, because you're not going to talk as much, especially as a sideline reporter.
Yeah, it's so interesting because and we have to do this in the next segment because I know we're running out of time here. But how I started to where I am now, all in a year. I mean, I have to pinch myself sometimes and realize that everything I've done on JTV, it seems like so much, and it is, but this has all happened in only 1 year. And to be able to do all these different things and have these experiences is so awesome. Shockingly, I think the one I enjoy the most is actually the Jackson Show. I really have enjoyed going out in the community, whether it be the Hutter Jubilee, the Civil War muster, especially because I'm a history buff myself, but going out there and interviewing people in the community and just being able to walk up to them, put their mic in the face and be like, hey, talk to me. Yeah. That has been so much fun because I have done sports before, pre-JTV. I've never actually done a community show like that. So that in and of itself, and I'm so excited for this year's slate that we got coming up. I'm really excited for that. Other than that, I would have to say, the sideline experience too, because again, I've done play-by-play, I've done color before. Yes, I absolutely love them. I have never done a community show, and I've never done sideline reporting until I came to JTV. So those two stick out to me so far because they've been so new and exciting.
Right. Well, got to take a quick break here. We'll have a couple more minutes with you when we come back. Man, the part 2 is just turning into part more and more. So we'll have a couple more minutes, and we'll wrap things up with Max Fritz when we come back here on JTV. Welcome back here on JTV. I'm David Rice, that's Adam. We still have a couple minutes here. JTV sports commentator Max Fritz, of course, kicking off our live baseball coverage this week. Of course, today's Wednesday, so you can find highlights also and photos from the game against Kellogg on our website at jtv.tv. Everybody's got a journey of how they got into broadcasting. But while we have just a couple more minutes left, if you wanted to share your journey about just getting to JTV.
Yeah, it's such an interesting one, especially because it fully came full circle this year. Almost serendipity. It is so interesting how it happened because, again, I'm new to Jackson. I knew nothing about JTV or the Jackson community until I met my wife and met her family. Her dad, Brian Paul, is very big in the community. He used to be an electrician. He does a lot of things around the community. He actually plays in one of those men's hockey leagues as well. And he knew everyone, it seemed like. When I was riding downtown with him one of the first few weeks that I had met him after getting introduced to him, and he like basically would stop on every street corner, roll down his window, and he'd know someone. So that was really interesting. And I had expressed to him that my interest in broadcasting, and my father and mother-in-law knew that. And my father-in-law said, well, you know what? He told me about JTV, and he said, tell you what, I'm going to the hockey game for Lumen and J United last year's one. And he said, I'll see if I can talk to Bart or Andy if I see him there. And sure enough, when he was at the hockey game, he saw Andy, and he went up to Andy and was like, hey, my son-in-law, blah, blah, and gave Andy all my contact information. And that was the start of it. So the fact that it started at the Jackson Lumen hockey game, and then for me to end up then calling that game again this year, and then after Andy got my contact information, the first thing he told me to come do was that Spring Arbor game. So after I had introduced myself to him and Bart, I didn't introduce myself till I got to the game. That was like, again, me meeting everyone. I knew nothing. They just gave me a time and a place and said, show up.
Yeah.
And, I got there.
I still get that. So,
Yeah.
Hey, tomorrow, 3:00.
Exactly.
Be at Jackson College. Oh, okay.
But I get there and call a heck of a game, and with that, again, enshrined forever in the walk-off call, to have that for my first game, and then to just be thrust right into the cognitive wheels of JTV was insane. I did not expect it, because right after that, I got the opportunity to do the Jackson show. And I instantly fell in love with that. And then from that, I got to do every single sport that we cover in so many different varieties, starting out sideline reporting football, and then color commentation for basketball, and then hockey, and then play-by-play for baseball. And it just was insane to me that the full circle that now officially calling this game yesterday was that completion of where I started to where I am now, and the future is only looking up. I love this company and love that I've been accepted into this and continue to do the sports and call broadcasting that I love.
I'm jealous at the fact your very first game you did here on JTV, you had a walk-off.
Yeah.
Still, I've done 6 football, 7 basketball seasons. Now this past season that just ended was my 7th here, and I still have never had a game a basketball game at the buzzer.
You've
that
never
I've
had a
ever
buzzer
called.
beater?
I've never had a buzzer beater.
Wow.
The closest was maybe like a 1-point game with like 10 seconds, but
Yeah.
the team that was winning had the ball and they got fouled. So I haven't even had anything. I maybe had one shot at the buzzer like that was missed, one or two, but I've never had a game-winning buzzer beater call ever in my career so far. And I've only had a couple football games where they won it on the last drive or in the last minute. And only one of like the 2 or 3 was that Napoleon game where they full house teed that like the last 7 minutes of the quarter, slowly taking up all the time, went down there and scored and gave Grass Lake essentially no time. That it was cool because me and Dan Gallagher did that game. I know, of course, Josh would have wanted to be there, but by the way, shout out Josh because he's starting now the softball.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
Job
good
at
luck to
Napoleon
him.
this week.
Yeah.
So with games beginning, so good luck to Josh. But that's a tradition that me and Dan always do: a Grass Lake or a Napoleon game. I mean, that's a given, of course. Former supervisor Dan Gallagher, and then me being from Grass Lake, but. And that was, you mentioned Napoleon, one of the cool places that you like to do a game, but still, I've never had a basketball buzzer beater or like a game winner in any sport I've done here at the buzzer or on the last play.
Yeah, I got extremely lucky.
And you get your
Yeah,
very first game, and you don't even know the other guy you're doing the game
not at all.
with, and you get a walk-off in extra innings, and I was there, too.
I know. Couldn't have scripted it any better.
I know. Well, hopefully the next couple JC games we do, we get a walk-off and we get a good game. So, of course, you can check out Max on the Jackson Show, of course, this summer with Hot Air Jubilee and Civil War muster happening.
Relay for life.
Relay for life.
gonna say,
Whatever
we'll-
happens. this
Whatever, yeah.
summer.
We'll get you out there.
Wherever I can get a mic and open field,
Yep.
I'll be out there.
We'll get you
Right.
out.
So you can find him there, and of course, also play-by-play, color, jack of all trades with our live sports here on JTV. So, 2 shows worth of conversation. So appreciate
Is that a
you.
record?
Yes,
I think
it is.
it is.
Because the
And-
longest we had was Pat and Dan, and that was just one whole show.
Yeah, and we'd go longer, but
Oh,
it is
yeah, I know.
hot in this
It is.
room. We need to
Yeah.
we need to air this room out a
Yeah,
little bit.
we need to get out of here. Thank you, Max, for joining
you,
us. We
David.
got to do this again, and maybe next time you're on, I don't know if we can get you, Pat, and Dan all in the
Oh, we
room at
should.
the same time. Phone call and whatnot, but we got to have all of us on.
Yeah, we do.
So that'd be awesome. So thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we'll be right back here on JTV. Stay with us. Welcome back here on JTV. Thanks to Max for joining the show for both times this week. So you can check out the majority of the conversation we had on Monday's show. So that is online at jtv.tv. So in other headlines, college basketball news. That's what the hard part is. I think I mentioned it to you. It was either you or Brandon yesterday. But UConn was lucky that they won back-to-back national championships when they did, because the transfer portal and NIL isn't as big as it is now, like this past year.
It's going to be hard.
So you just, we'll be back next year. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's if half your team doesn't leave
Right.
just to go get paid more at a school in the same conference. But college basketball news, Trey Holloman transferring from Michigan State. He was a big piece for them and a big piece for Michigan. Trey Donaldson.
All the trays are leaving.
Yeah. So Holloman leaving Michigan State and Trey Donaldson transferring from Michigan. In NBA news, Carmelo Anthony in the Hall of Fame.
Yay, we kind of figured, right?
Yeah, 3 Olympic gold medals. I didn't really see he won 3 of them. He was on the 08, the 12, and then
Must
they
have been
win?
2016 then?
Had to have been
Yeah.
16.
I mean, he was...
Because
there
they
was-
didn't. They were, still a great stacked roster, but they didn't win in 2020 or 21. It was a weird, because COVID messed the whole schedule up.
Yeah,
for
so
the
I forgot what
Olympics.
happened there. Yeah, it kind of messes up
But
the
they didn't
timeline.
win at all.
They didn't? I thought that they haven't lost since...
No, when they won this past gold in Paris, that was the first since 16.
Oh, no kidding. Well, there's something about Olympic Carmelo. Like there was that's like a version of him
thing.
that's crazy because like he was dominant in the Olympics.
Hoodie Mello.
Yeah, there's certain versions of Melo.
Yeah. Which Carmelo was your favorite? Denver? That team with Iguodala, J.R. Smith, Tyson Chandler.
Yeah.
New York. Let's see. What else? Lakers bubble championship 2020.
I think it comes to those first two. I think I think you can either. I mean, if I had to pick one, I would say Olympic Carmelo because that was his best version of himself. But it's got to be Denver in my opinion. Even though the Knicks, I mean, he was crazy for the Knicks, but it's to me it's Denver.
It's one of those players in NBA history where he deserved to win a championship, but
Yeah.
never even had an opportunity to, never even had a shot at it.
Right. And remember that Denver team with Chauncey Billups and stuff after they made the trade with AI? I mean, first AI and then they make the trade with Detroit and get Chauncey Billups. So that team looked pretty good. Nene, there were some good guys on that team.
Nene.
JR, yeah, Nene.
He was asked recently on another podcast about what if he would have gotten drafted by the Pistons.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize anybody.
Carmelo said they would have won because they won back-to-back, the 03-4. He said they would have won a three-peat had he would have been on the team because you add young Carmelo with all those
Yeah.
other guys. That's another piece that he wouldn't have started. That would have added more depth to their
Yeah,
bench, and they would have trusted him.
And I mean, you knew how good we were when it's like we won that after being, getting the number 3 pick in the draft. We end up winning the NBA championship, and then the year after we lose, but we lose to the Spurs, who are very, very, very good, obviously. And then after that, we lose to the eventual champions, the Heat. So it's just like we were very, very good. And it's like we could have been so much better if we had Carmelo. There's a interesting YouTube video. I don't know who made it, but where he goes into like an NBA 2K sim and he puts in Carmelo on the Pistons. Like, what if we would have drafted him? And it was
I think I've seen that. I think
really
it was
good.
from a while ago when that video was,
Yeah.
but I think I saw that.
And it was like the Pistons were so good with him. It's just sucks.
I think the bench, just more depth would have beat the Spurs, because really the Spurs are pretty top heavy as far as starters,
Right.
compared to the later years of their dynasty, because the later years they had more of the young Kawhi Leonard, the Patty Mills,
Yeah,
Danny Green
they had
coming
way
off
more
the
depth
bench.
later, for sure.
Skip Bayless' favorite player, Tiago Splitter.
Tiago Splitter.
He says, would it be LeBron 1-on-1?
No, just no.
Anyways, in NBA news from yesterday, this was a great game. Jokic, 61 points, and they lost in overtime to Minnesota.
Most points ever in a triple-double, and they lost.
You can thank Russell Westbrook.
Oh, man.
And in NFL news, both teams will now be able to get the ball and have a possession in overtime in the regular season. Of course, this was a rule started last year just in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But now it's in the regular season.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I like it. I think the NFL should do it how college does.
That
College
I like that.
overtime
It's something about
will
that
never
overtime.
be topped.
Yeah, something about that overtime that's awesome. Like I love being able to
Because we'll
get,
never
like,
get
5
a
overtime games.
5-6 overtime game in the
It's
NFL.
awesome.
And the tush push did not get the number of votes to officially ban it from the game.
16 of the needed 24 votes. So that kind of tells me, we talked about this before the show, that kind of tells me that eventually, a few years, they could probably sway enough people, if everybody else votes the same, could sway enough people to potentially ban it in the future. So we could see in a few years, if they get the extra votes, that it might happen.
What I thought was interesting was that the Packers were the one who originally proposed it.
I guess maybe they're just very sure that play should be banned. I mean, everybody can kind of bring their own stuff to the table. Like Detroit kind of brought something to the table that really didn't impact them. But it seems more fair in terms of like seeding for the playoffs.
But, nobody does it in the NFL. This is really only high school, maybe like Army. But in college or high school, teams run more I-form full house or wing T. And some of the plays in that from games that we've watched here locally, there's plays where if they get it to the fullback and the running back, we'll just push the fullback.
Yeah.
Not like a big rugby type scrum like the tush push is, but they'll just
push him forward.
Even though he's got the ball with space and momentum, he'll just push him
send the
anyways.
momentum forward. Yeah.
And that's allowed, even though it shouldn't.
I was gonna say I saw it with Napoleon.
Right.
So yeah.
I saw it, I think, once with Lumen on an I-form play. I mean, they run I, that's their offense,
Right.
but I saw that from a play from them. So they asked Matt LaFleur about it at the annual coaches meeting. They have the big picture with all 32 coaches. There was
That's
one
always a fun
missing.
one. Oh, who was missing?
The Atlanta coach.
What was he doing?
I guess they just said he wasn't there.
What are you doing?
And it's funny how where they have some of the coaches, like who's standing next to who.
That's always funny.
And some people were very concerned about Mike Tomlin. I don't know if you've seen the video. I have to show it to you. He was sweating bad inside during press conferences, and he was taking a while to talk, and he didn't look well.
Oh, I don't wonder what happened.
He's sweating about the fact that Aaron Rodgers might be on this team.
Oh gosh. We'll see.
I'd be happy, but
We'll see if he goes to Minnesota or if he plays anywhere.
But they asked Matt LaFleur about the tush push because Green Bay was the one who brought it up originally, and he said, he called it a rugby play
Mm-hmm.
because that's pretty much what they do almost every play in rugby.
Yeah.
It's a scrum.
Right.
And they asked him about if Aaron went to Minnesota, and he said it would be a hell of a story, just like Brett Favre.
It would be.
Because Brett Favre also played for the Jets, too.
Yeah. So it'd be the perfect path. It'd be the perfect replication.
It wouldn't be
of
in the exact order, but Packers, Jets, Vikings.
That would be in the order.
He played for the Vikings right after Green Bay.
No, he went to the Jets first. Because he had a
Oh,
real
yeah, the 1 year of the
he had
Jets
the 1
was
year of the Jets.
before.
And funny enough, it was a real bad year for the Jets, just like it was Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, the injury thing didn't happen to Favre, but it would be the exact same path, which is just too funny.
And in hockey news, Alex Ovechkin 4 goals away from the record for
He's
Wayne
close.
Gretzky.
I never thought that record would ever be beaten.
No, just like the all-time scoring record in the NBA with Kareem.
Yeah. I mean, for sure with this, because Gretzky, it's pretty far away from Gordie Howe, who was next to him. And then Gordie Howe was so far away from everybody else that it just kind of seemed like, well, nobody's even going to come close to this. But Ovechkin's been that guy. I mean, he's just consistently, ever since I started really, he was kind of coming up when I first started watching hockey. And then it's just, he's been that guy ever since.
7-8 years ago, when you look at like the big stars of the league, other people who you would have thought would have made a run at it, maybe not gotten to it, but would have been up there as far as the ranks. Not now, but 7-8 years ago, like when Patrick Kane played for the Blackhawks, Sidney Crosby when he played for the Penguins.
Evgeny Malkin. They had
Yeah.
there was a bunch of guys in that time, but man, Ovechkin's done it.
For sure. Again, with all the weather happening this week here in the area and all the crazy tornadoes and stuff that happened Sunday around the state, check JTV.tv and with your local school athletic pages, Facebook, school's website for updated schedule and all the high school sports happening. So that's going to do it for us. That's Adam. I'm David. Thank you to the Insurance Circle Agency, and have a good weekend. Enjoy the Final Four. We'll talk to you Monday.
Go Tigers.